Hey guys, Terry here. I wanted to do a quick video to show you another use of the Brother ScanNCut. So I don't know if you have seen these chipboard, kind of a 3D, what do you call these? They're just a cute chipboard. It's nice hard covered, and you decorate the pages, and sometimes these books come in different shapes. So this one is square, so you can just cut your paper with a straight edge. But what happens if you want to cut something that's in a different shape? So I have a few of these kits. They're from a friend, and she passed away a couple years ago. She had breast cancer and survived it, and then died of other complications. So it's still sad when I think about her and her situation, but I still have her kits, and she was very creative. So we're thinking of you, Lori. So anyways, back to what if you have to cut these by that cardboard that's in a different shape. So what I was working on this weekend was I thought I could, let me show you one, but this is the one that I did with this shape. But let me show you a new one here. So here's one here that is just the chipboard, and I have some of the pages done. These pages aren't done yet. So what I need to do is cut the paper that came with the kit to go on these jars. So this was the paper that came with it, and you can see it just cuts the bottom of the jar. But the idea is that I want to trace around this, use my Brother ScanNCut to know what shape to cut, and then I can keep using that shape to cut. So let me show you with this one. I'll just mention too, this one was a little bit easier because we were doing the whole piece, and I had a great big 12 by 12 piece. But let me show you how to trace it and then scan it. So what we'll do first is we'll do and I suggest that you trace it using a Sharpie on white. So just have something that's a dark color to trace around. And I'm just going to go around this. We want it to be a nice thick line. And I want the contrast, I want it to be high in contrast. So any dark color on any light color piece of paper. The other thing that's important is you do need it to be a solid line, because if it's not, if there's a little opening here, the ScanNCut will think that this whole thing is the shape. So I just want to cut the outside. So I'm going to draw a straight line from side to side here, and just making sure it's completely closed in. So now we put that on our ScanNCut mat. Let me go get my mat. Okay, I've tacked it onto my mat, and I'm going to load it. Okay, and then I'm going to scan it, and instead of saying direct cut, I do need to say that I want to save the cut data. Okay, I'm leaving the recognition mode in black and white just because I've got black marker on white paper. I'm going to start scanning. Let that feed in. Okay, and then it's going to recognize it. This is where it's doing the character recognition and seeing the dots on the page. It takes it a minute. But this is going to allow us to have that shape that I want to cut on each of my pieces of paper. Okay. And I want to tell it, there's three different options here. One is the entire outline, one is the lines, and then one is the inside and the outside lines. I just want the outside. Okay. I can zoom in on the part that I want. I don't want the edges of my paper, so I'm going to zoom in to the shape like that. Hit preview. And then I'm going to save that. And it says, where do you want to save it to? And I'm just going to save it to this machine. Okay, so now I've got that shape. So I'll just go back to the front, and I hit the home to go back to the front menu, and it says OK to delete all patterns. This sounds scary, but it's not deleting what you saved. It's deleting just what's on the mat right now. Okay, so I'm going to unload this mat, and I am going to load one of my pieces of paper. Now here's a tip for this one. In this kit, it did not come with the entire 12 by 12 piece of paper. It just came with enough to cut on this. So I think what I'm going to do is, because that's where my shape is, I'm going to cut my piece of paper down. I'm going to glue my piece of paper to right where this spot is. But that's just because I don't have... Matter of fact, let me just use a bigger piece of paper to cut this, just to save a headache there. Normally you'd have a whole big piece of paper. Okay, I put just a yellow piece of paper on here, load it in, and my mat has lost its sticky, so I'm just going to tack it down a little bit there. But let me show you. Now we're going to go to Pattern, and it is saved on our machine. Pick the machine. It's on the last page, so I'm going to hit the up arrow to go to page 8, and here's my shape, and hit OK. And then I can edit that if I want to. Let's say I want to move it. I want to move it up on the page or what have you. Okay. Okay. And then I can tell it to cut. Okay, take this out. So now we have our cut piece of paper in the shape that we scanned. It fits perfectly to cut. But I would glue this on, and then before you glue the second side on, you want to punch the holes, just using a hole punch, so that the rings will go through. These books are usually put together with bound by rings, and then that's how what holds all the pages together. Okay, so I think it's pretty handy. I love the idea of using the Brother ScanNCut. I need to remember, now it's going to bug me, I need to remember how to change the inside piece there. But I just love the idea that you can scan any shape and then have it for your piece that you're working on. So, like this one. I mean, if you've got, that jar is pretty straight. You could cut that with your scissors, but this one was pretty intricate. So I thought that worked well. The other thing that you can do is, if you don't want the edge to be a little bit bigger, you can see where I traced, it is a little bit bigger. To me, it's working. And then I probably would ink around the edges, just so that this adds a little dimension by putting ink around the edges, taking an ink pad and just going along the edges. It really adds a lot to the look of it. But the other thing that what we used to do was you would glue your paper on there and then you actually use your file and go along the edge, because using a file would like sand it, and that would make it kind of take away any jagged edges when you had cut it manually. But I think this worked really well. I think this was a good way to use the shape that you have, that you need, and then have it cut on the paper. And the other thing was, it went together very quickly. I just sat here and kept loading my mats and cutting the next one, gluing one, cutting the next one, gluing the one. So it did go together quickly, and I think these chipboard books are just the cutest. I mean, they're just something nice and tactile to touch. My grandkids love it. There's just all kinds of cute things you can do. This one had a page that you did a long piece of paper on. But yeah, I think they're really cute. And this one here had a little baggy insert. So just very cute. I don't know. I mean, they wear out over time, but at least there's something that you can have out and about and the family can enjoy it. So I think they're so cute. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I'm trying to get to 1,000 this year. So I know that's not a very big number, but I would really appreciate if you subscribe. When I get to 1,000, I can monetize and make a couple dollars. So that would be nice, and I appreciate you watching. Thanks, guys. One more thing. I thought there was one more thing I should show you. I do want to show you that, let's say you do have a small piece of paper and you want to cut out that jar shape on the paper that came with the kit. So let me show you. I'm going to load the mat, and then I'm picking pattern on the machine, going to the last page, picking my jar shape, hit OK. Now I want to place this shape. Can you see it on there? I want to place this shape on the paper. So what they give you is this option here that says scan my mat to see where I have my piece of paper on the mat. So it gave me that option by hitting that scanner icon. So now I know where my paper is, and I can simply scoot this jar over to say where I want to cut it on that piece of paper. Hit OK, and then I tell it to cut, and then start. So that scanning shape is just a really nice way to cut exactly where I want to cut. Now they gave it a piece of paper that was just about the same size as the cardboard, so it's really was just cutting, you know, look how much it cut off the bottom of that. So but this was unusual. Normally you would have a regular piece of paper and it would do that, and I didn't have my mat isn't super sticky, so I had it taped down on this corner and this corner. I should have taped it a little bit more to get the whole thing, but now this would be the shape of my chipboard that they gave in the kit. And I would simply glue that on. I would probably ink around the edges, and like I mentioned before, just punch your holes for the rings before you glue that second piece of paper on. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that there was that option to it's this little icon right here that scans the mat, and that's helpful too when you're going to cut a bunch of different shapes and you want to place it on certain places on the paper. Maybe there was a section of the page that had like you know, a certain print, and you wanted to have that shape cut specifically on that. So you would scan your piece of paper, you could see your paper, and then position it where you wanted it. So I hope that helps. Thanks, guys.